time to put our last conversation on the road for you. I'm joined by Zainab Buba Galadima. She's a politician and a businesswoman. It's a delight. Second time around. The first was, I think, sometime last year.
Yes.
Right. So there's no better time to have this conversation because it's International Women's Day. I understand, brought from your profile, the work you have done, the conversation I had with you the other time, that you have a big heart for women issues, their interests, their welfare, their development, and seeing them play their role in society and all of that. So when you look over your shoulder now, would you say on a scale of 10, women have done really well?
Well, good morning. I would say there's progress, but obviously not as much as we want to see.
Right.
Women are still left behind. For example, in terms of politics, in terms of inclusion when it comes to the political space, a lot of women are left behind. And it's because they haven't really stood their ground. I don't think the average Nigerian woman understands her power. Do you understand what I mean? I think if we did, we would be able to, be more visible and be able to make more impact. With this new dispensation, there are a lot of women that have been appointed into political offices.
You mean the Tinubu government?
Yes.
All right.
Compared to the previous ones. So I think there are a lot more women that are being engaged, which is a, big step ahead. And, but I still think a lot of women are, they're scared of being in the, in that space because maybe of the stigma or, or the challenges associated with it. Naturally, politics, it's about determination, it's about courage. And if you do not have that, you wouldn't survive, you wouldn't last in that space at all. So I think we're lacking in that, but we're trying. A lot of women are coming, younger women are trying to, be more active, be more, oh, look at me, I'm out here, I have something to offer. And I think we're getting there. Yes.
You talked about women, you alluded to women being limited in certain areas, whether it's politics, particularly in politics. But let's look at specifically some of those obstacles that are standing in the way of women getting to where they ought to be. In the Nigerian case, as it were.
I think godfatherism, it's one challenge if you do not have somebody to hold your hand. And a lot of women, some of them, when they get there, they hardly remember the other women down there. And it's a bit more, and some of us are married, so there is a limitation to our association with men, and, culturally, religiously, and stuff like that. So these are things that we always have at the back of, what would they say about me? What would they say to my children? Politics has a way of digging into your past or your pedigree or whatever it is that, whatever it is that you are, whoever you are, it has a way of telling, even if you're not, they would tell you something you're not, and they will make you believe that you are. So a lot of women are scared of that. But once you, because once you listen to what people say, naturally, you would never get to wherever it is.
So you're distracted at that point?
Yes. So you would never get, if you are determined to listen to what people say to bring you down, like they say, you're like, your destiny abortionist, you would never achieve that destiny or that dream that you wish to achieve, see come true.
Right.
Yeah.
So at the top of the program this morning, my colleague and I, Queen Agaba, we're talking about how that women in this day and age are now finding the courage and taking the initiative to venture into roles that hitherto were seen as male-specific, right? But let's talk about education, whether it's formal, structured or otherwise. You've got sizable education under your belt, but not every woman can boast of that as well. How are we closing that gap? A very educated, not so educated, they're in between.
I think there's a divide now. It's just like the haves and the have-nots. People that go to school, and people that do not, don't go to school. And the people that do not have, some of them are trying as much as possible because they want to be like those ones that have. So a lot of women, with the help of other women or other people, because a lot of people now advocating for education because that is the root of our problems. without education, be it man or woman, boy or girl, whatever, there's a limitation to whatever it is that you can aspire to be. So I think a lot of women are adding value to themselves by going to school, you know, gaining skills and stuff like that. So obviously not as much as me, you know, the average person now, almost everybody has a degree, you know, and some go ahead to do masters and stuff like that. Not people like me that have multiple degrees and stuff like that. Obviously, that's a matter of choice and whatever it is.
The aspiration, ambition.
Yes, yes. But now I think a lot of people are, because the life as it is now, it's very hard, you know, and people are starting to think, let me do what I can to make sure that I at least, you know, reach that benchmark, you know, to be able to at least be visible, because without that, sometimes you hardly do that, especially if you have no godfather, but you should have some value that you add, so that when they think about something, they'll be like, oh, that person can add value, that person possesses this kind of skill, and maybe we should engage them, you know, even without knowing anybody. Things like that happen. You know, there is a bit of social justice, just a little bit. Not as much as, you know, our parents, where the son of a nobody can get a contract or can get a job anywhere they want. You know, now you have to know, there are some strings that you have to, you know, connect to be able to, you know, reach that. So I think it's still baby steps.
Do you think we are over-reliant or over-dependent on governments to fix problems associated with women? Do you think we're expecting too much from government?
Yes, I believe so. I think it is a collective thing, both the citizen and the government. As a citizen, I think you should be able to do your own part and also let the government also do their own part. On the part of the government, there is a deficit in leadership, genuine leadership, sincere leadership that has a vision of seeing a greater Nigeria, for example. And within the city, everybody thinks, okay, since I'm not in power, because everybody now, for example, now everybody wants to be a politician because they see the politicians living large. You know, in this Nigeria, we make offices or government positions to be lucrative.
Very attractive.
Very attractive. It is not about service at all. It is not about, because the rate at which the lifestyle they have, and you know, is a lot different from people that serve. How can I vote for you and won't be able to actually communicate, sit with you and tell you what the problems are within the community? Because you have a lot of, there are so many protocols to reach you, or you know, you don't have time and stuff like that. Obviously there's too much expectations and there's too much spent on logistics to get to wherever it is. So when they get there, all they want to do is just to get what they can and not remembering, you know, the people down there. So not everybody has that sense of service, you know. So we have a long way to go, and we need to understand the rights of a citizen, and also we need to understand our roles as people in power or people in the positions that are entrusted by the people. So once we do that, and the system always, I always say the system also is messed up. When there are no consequences to actions, corruption thrives, there will be no transparency, there will be no accountability.
Right.
So, and once we understand that, if we can address that systematic problem, but there will be change, you know, a drastic change in how things, you know, go on in the country.
Let's talk about mentorship and role modeling for young girls. Have women been able to address that largely? Not
really, no. I think now, because there's a lot of, we're lacking behind, so a lot of women now are reaching out. Before, you know, everybody was scared, oh, she's a woman, she would think, you know, she'll be intimidated by me, she'll be that. But sometimes all you need to do is just to ask. Some people are approachable, there are some that are not, obviously. So if you do not ask, you will never know. For example, I get a lot more mentors from guys than I do from girls, until I started attending seminars and stuff. And I keep telling them that if you really need me, you know, to mentor you or to guide you through whatever you know, you want to do, you can always reach out to me, and my door was open. So I get a lot of girls, you know, trying to talk to me. Oh, I want to do this, I want to, and I would advise them accordingly, according to my own understanding, to the best of my ability. And I've seen, you know, a lot of change. And some, they don't even need to reach out to you. All they need to do is just to follow what you do as a role model. And they'll be like, oh, I like how she does this, you know, and you know, they follow up on your activities, and they pick up on lessons, and you know, add value to themselves. And that is how a lot of women, there are a lot of young women that are doing great things now. So I think we're getting there, but we're still not there, you know, because there's this, I think it's not, is it, I can't say it's culture, but there's this, what do you call it? People are just a bit nonchalant, or they're not too forward. Yeah, indifference. They're not too forward in what they really want to do. So I think, and a lot of women, they have some, there's lack of self-confidence, their self-esteem they might be going through. So a lot of women need to understand first, they need to love themselves. They need to understand their worth. They need to do so many things for themselves first. Before anybody believes in you, you have to believe in yourself. Before anybody takes you serious, you have to take yourself serious. So a lot of women need to understand that mental health issues, these are things that are, you know, pulling women back, and, you know, the society back as a whole. So these are things that we need to address.
It's interesting. Turns out that evidently you had been in government at some point under former President Muhammadu Buhari.
Yes.
I'd like to believe off the top of my head that you got an insight into what maybe policies and structures are around women, you know, issues around the girl child, whether it's the girl child education, access to sanitary facilities, and so on and so forth. Do you think we're doing well with regards to how we formulate policies around gender-specific issues, with regards to maybe a bias for women, and how we implement those policies? Or like my guest said a while ago, my other guest, is it just a matter of having shop talks, talk shops rather, where women, first ladies across the states just come and talk, and with little or no action?
One thing I stopped doing, or not completely, but I've reduced, is attending all this talk, because a lot of times there are no actions. And yes, a lot of first ladies come sit together, but they don't really have, you know, they don't really go down to where, you
what
know,
the real issues are.
Yeah, the implementation of those policies. There are a lot of things that could solve our problems, and people sit and talk every day. But to implement it is a problem. And now, for example, if you bring an idea of where women can, you know, live from point A to B, somebody in between will say, okay, you have to do this for me, you have to do that for me. You know, there's no interest in the whole idea. The idea of that is just that person's interest, and you know, that's greed, and a lot of things don't get to pass. You know, there was a time the women inclusion something bill was passed, and there was no awareness. A lot of women did not know, so a lot of women did not, you know, come out to support that. So at the end of the day, the thing died. So there is that. We do not, the communication is not there, the implementation is not there. The people that are supposed to make sure that they oversee these things are not really engaged. You know, people that, just like, you know, it's the strings, the network strings, right. You know, okay, this is my person. So regardless, because some of them are incapable, they do not have the capacity to make sure that that dream, you know, is possible, that comes true. So why would you put somebody that cannot achieve that kind of vision, you know? But that's how it is. And until we go back to the drawing board and see that, and say, okay, look, this, we want this to work. Let's, you know, all the things that surround us, we need to make sure that we address it, and we need to make sure that we do it. Until there is action, really, there's nowhere we can go.
Speaking of action, this year the theme for, the overarching theme for the International Women's Day is Invest in Women, Accelerate Progress. Let's create context for that kind of investment. How are we supposed to invest, ideally, in light of this year's observance?
Invest in women.
Yes, because that's what the conversation is about. Invest in women, accelerate progress. How do we invest in women?
Well, there are a lot of ways. For example, in education, there are a lot of women that do businesses. A lot of, for example, in the north, a lot of young girls now, you know, they are not even married. They own their businesses and they're doing really well. So these are people you need to support. We need to create an enabling environment for people to thrive. And when I was in the vice president's office, there was this program called the Ease of Doing Business, you know, but it goes beyond just sitting down and talk. For example, you know, now there are a lot of taxes, a string of taxes, and some they are overlapping each other. You know, they mean the same thing but differently, you know, but they still extort, you know, people. They should give people a chance to, okay, maybe make it just one. And then at the end of the day, wherever it is that it reaches, then they can divide it into maybe signboard, this, that, so that they could be, but there's no enabling environment. You know, if you want to go to farm, there's no security. If you want to do business, for example, now the real estate is shooting up high because the dollar is high, everybody's increasing things. So many things. And education, training, skills, you know, soft loans, you know. These are ways that you could invest in women and see that, and make sure that, and monitor them. For example, I told you that I created Trader Money. It was one of the projects that I started when I was a counselor, and then it was on a national level, but I didn't manage it. So there are ways, there are steps to which you can make sure that, because you train the trader, for example, before you give them loan, you train them on financials, you train them on how to manage their business and all that, so that in 6 months when they repay back the loan, they would be able to stand on their feet. But some people just get into business and 2-3 months business has gone down because they're using that business to feed and stuff like that. So there are a lot of ways that implementation really is a problem for us here.
When you look over your shoulder now, do you wish you were in government, whether elected or appointed?
Well, for elected, I'm not interested in elective office.
Was it murky waters?
Yeah, there's a lot of, not because I am, but because of who I am, there are things that I cannot do. You know, I have boundaries to whatever it is that I can do. And you buy yourself into power. I don't want to buy myself into power. I want to be wanted to be in power. Do you understand? I don't know if, I just look at it, but if I have an opportunity to serve, for example, in a position, I would want a position where I would impact in people's lives. That is my, but if not, if what I'm seeing that goes on, oh, these people will be like, oh, okay, they put money into their personal accounts, and no, that's not what I want to be part of. Because I think I have a name to protect and also a reputation to build. So this is not, it's not everything that I would do just to be in power, no.
Do you feel concerned that Nigeria has not produced an elected, not a standing female governor yet?
For me, it's not about gender. It's about capacity. There's so much for, okay, advocating for women. I would love for a woman that is capable, that can do the job. I would love to see that kind of person be in power. But I wouldn't want a woman who does not know what she's doing, and at the end of the day, she will get in there and get disgraced. If you look at, you know, the pattern now, there are a lot of women that are being set up or let themselves be set up, you know, by the system, because maybe there's something that they're looking for, you know, and I am not proud of that. I would have wished that that didn't happen, but it does. And it's a great concern, because women that have something to offer would not be given a chance. They'll be like, oh, okay, we gave you that chance, and see what this girl did, or see what this woman did, or see what, you know? So it's not something that I would want somebody genuine. I would love to see a powerful, you know, female governor that would make a difference, that they'll be like, oh, okay, we should have given you a chance a long time ago, but not because, oh, she's a woman, no. I would want somebody that is capable.
It's interesting, the issue of gender, women, and investing in women to help get the best out of them. But let's talk about how that, when we talk about issues around women, you hear gender equality. Others say gender equity. And then here, inclusion, inclusivity. It appears it's just so much of talk and nomenclature and all of that. Walk us through your understanding and given the work you have done over the years about what gender equality is and what gender equity is.
I think equality, they want to be treated
on some level.
Same level. You know, a lot of people, for example, define feminism in different ways. Some say, okay, she's a feminist, she hates men. Some say she's a feminist, she wants to do what a man can do. I know I'm a woman. There are things that I wouldn't want to do. I'm not trying to compete with a man.
So you're comfortable in your skin?
I am comfortable, but I want to be given that opportunity. You know, I want to be given that opportunity to be able to add value to the society in whatever capacity. Be it a man's position, I want to be, if I can do it, they should allow me to do it. Do you understand what I mean? There's, for example, I'm a Muslim. There are things that are meant for the men. A man is supposed to be the head of the family. A man is supposed to take care of the wife. Why would I want to fight over your own, role, godly role that God has given you? Why would I want to fight over that? Honestly, I like to be taken care of, but I also want to be given that opportunity to be able to, express myself in ways that I can add value. That is the most important thing. So I don't understand, sometimes I don't understand these definitions. I don't understand what they mean by that. Inclusion is good. Right. You know, a woman can aspire, she can be a president if she can do it. You know, it's okay if she can do it. If she really, really is good at it, she should be allowed to do it. That is my own stand. But not because, if she wants to be a truck driver, she can do it. If she wants to do it, she can allow her to do it. You know, it's what she wants. But I wouldn't do it. Do you understand? Because I don't feel... And
that's a personal decision.
Yeah, that's a personal decision because I like myself too much. I don't like wahala. So, and that's it. Anyway.
I'm just going to ask you the last question. Do you think younger girls, particularly the ones who would love to refer to themselves as Gen Zs, some say they are Gen Z baddies, do you think they understand the concepts and the philosophy behind feminism? Do they understand it beyond all of the things they say on Instagram and X?
You know, sometimes people talk and not until it happens to you, life happens to you, then you will be like, do you understand? A lot of us don't understand some feminism terms, feminism definitions or, whatever that other people define. And I look at it like, oh, really? You really want to get into that? But I see them and I'll be like, okay, maybe they haven't seen life. You know, there's so much to life than, their definitions or their thinking and their stuff. Because there are things that religion and culture has provided us. And sometimes when you go far and you'll be like, oh, okay, this is the reason why this is in place. You know, as much as I am exposed, as much as I'm educated, as much as I still have some values and some principles that hold me. So there's some things I really do not agree with. And this Gen Zs or whatever, they think on maybe we probably think on a semi-digital, our parents were maybe manual, analog, right. We semi-digital, and them, they're just,
They're super digital.
Yeah, Pro Max. And sometimes the society I'm seeing now growing, it scares me because they want to be free-spirited, they want to be allowed to do so many things. But there are rules to this life,
right.
If you want to end well, as much as education, globalization, civilization, goes, there are a lot of things that we need to have principles on, and I think they should reconsider their thinking.
I think apparently we are ending well with this conversation. I'd like to say a big thank you to you, Zainab Galadima, for making our time this morning. We do appreciate it.
Thank you.
And that's a full circle on the program, everyone. Remember, the views of our guests and their opinions. I'm Uyag Mofwegwe. On behalf of myself and all of my colleagues here at Global Television, we say Happy International Women's Day to women across the world. And do stay with us here on Global TV.